Good morning, guys. Welcome to another video from Homesteading Off the Grid. I'm walking up my trail here to set my chair and ramble for a few minutes. And I've got some company up here and they're just staring at me. I don't know how long they'll stay there as I walk closer, but they're at my coffee spot. Who needs Starbucks when you got this, guys? Give you a view. Let's see if we can check on those baby cardinals I told you about the other day. They're in this dogwood right here. See if I can find, oh, there's the nest. Let's see if mommy's in there. Nope. Now I'm going to try to see if I can give you a view. There's the nest. Oh, there they are. I just woke them up. See if you can see them. Okay, I don't know if you saw them or not, guys. I bent the limp down for you. I'm not going to be able to tell if you can see them until I watch this video later, so hopefully you got a view of the baby cardinals, and they'll be fine. The mommy was actually just, and there's my deer. They're moseying on away. I keep this trail mowed down, like I've said before, all the way around the property, and it's steeper than it might look in the camera, so that's why I'm kind of breathing hard walking. But there they go. Okay, they're going off in the woods here. And they don't run, they just kind of trot off. And they're probably going to circle back around and come out below me. But here's a homestead. Here, Roger the Rooster number 27 down there crowing. Here we go. I always bring a towel up here with me to wipe off the dew. There. Okay. Gotta fix that lens. I got batteries for my $3 thrift store camera today and the lens cover was coming down. I guess you get what you pay for. But I'm wearing a hoodie today because it's actually kind of chilly. And I would tell you I'm going to keep this a little brief, but we know that's probably not true. But I'm up here a little earlier because I'm going into town today to work. It's Sunday. This is the last Sunday I'll have to work for my abusive employer and do the job I hate that makes me miserable. We work on Sundays. We don't deliver the primary product for which we're known because we don't deliver that on Sundays and federal holidays, but we do work on Sundays. I should be done early afternoon though. But I want to talk to you today briefly, hopefully, about reaching out for help, and particularly with veterans. And even if you're not a veteran, a girl approached me at work yesterday, I guess on her lunch break. She watched yesterday's video and she said she could relate to every word. And I said, I hope I didn't look crazy actually reading from my crazy note from the VA. And she's like, no, that was great. You probably helped somebody. So guys, here's my take on the VA. And this is not political. This is just how it is and how I see it. And I don't really like politics. It's not that I don't have my own views, because I do, but my views are mine, your views are yours, and if they're different or opposing, I think that would be the dumbest reason why you and I couldn't get along. That would be the dumbest reason why you and I couldn't have a conversation, and opposing political views is the dumbest reason why you and I couldn't be friends. I bet you and I might love a certain person in politics that you might hate, but I bet you we have so many other things in common that if we never talked about that, we would get on so well, we could be best friends. And, you know, I'm going into Charlottesville today, and Charlottesville is very political if you know anything about Charlottesville. But I've never had a problem with anybody in Charlottesville due to politics. I talk to a lot of people during the day while I'm working, and if the conversation starts to go that route, I'll re-steer it. And I'll steer it towards something that we probably have in common. And usually we have a lot in common, because a lot of times when I talk to folks, it's because I see that they have gardens, I see that they're growing fruit trees, blueberry bushes, and we talk about gardening. And I know their views are different than mine, and I'm not going to state what my views are because that's not what this channel's about. Because Charlottesville, a lot of people in Charlottesville love yard signs. They have all these yard signs all over their yard, all over town. Basically, like, some of them are a paragraph long, stating what they believe and their views, and they stick them right in their yard. And I'm like, wow, okay. So that's not me. I like to keep my cards close to my chest in that regard. But I've read some of these signs. I know these people think differently than me in this regard. But my gosh, we'll talk a considerable length of times. I have to say, hey, sorry, I'm working. I need to get away. And I leave with vegetables from their garden, or with plants, living plants to put in mine. I mean, because the people of Charlottesville and Albemarle County are some of the most wonderful people in the world. And I've been around the world. I've been in about a dozen different countries. I've lived in other countries. And when I came back to the U.S., I could have gone anywhere in the U.S. to live, and I chose Albemarle County because I love the people of Charlottesville. About a year ago, and I'm just going to mention this briefly, there were some protests here, there was some trouble, and unfortunately we had 3 people lose their lives that day. A young lady who lived up in Greene County, where I owned my first home here years ago in Ruckersville, and 2 state police troopers. The trouble that day, the people doing all the things that brought notoriety or infamy to this town were not the people from Charlottesville. We had people coming in from outside. I mean, the dirt bag who was driving the car that struck the girl that killed her, he was from Ohio. So if you saw that and that's the only thing you know about Charlottesville, you don't know anything about Charlottesville. The people here are wonderful. And also, the reason I'm going to expose or reveal my abusive employer in 6 days, I guess, is because these people want to know why they receive such terrible service from us, and they have the right to know because they're wonderful people. And so they're going to find out en masse because they deserve better. You know, I'm telling this story for my co-workers, and I'm telling it for the people who receive our services, and I'm telling it for somebody else very special, and it's not me. And I'll talk about this third most important reason when I tell my story here next Saturday. But the point is, I'm not political, so please don't take what I'm about to say about the VA as if I am and as if I'm choosing sides, because I'm not. I'm telling you my experience. Before I left the country almost 10 years ago and expatriated to the Philippines, I was dealing with the VA, and it was a nightmare just to get an appointment. It took me months to get an appointment, and I look back in retrospect now, and for a long time, for years, I wouldn't go to the VA. I just went back to the VA just within the last couple of months when some PTSD stuff was coming up because of the treatment I was receiving at work. I was scared to go because I told myself the VA turned me into a drug addict. All the VA does is push drugs. That's not true. By the time I got into the VA, I was already hooked on the painkillers from Madigan Army Hospital, and I had already started drinking on top of them after going almost 8 years without consuming any alcohol. So by the time I got into the VA 10 years ago, I was already wide open, full-bore drug addict, alcoholic, active alcoholic. So I can't blame the VA for that. However, it was pretty easy to get drugs from the VA once I got in. I mean, it's like I just requested them. So it kept fueling that. And then when I left the country, I had my case transferred to Manila because I knew I was going. And fortunately, I was never able to, I never sought treatment at the VA in Manila because I lived in Mindanao, which was 600 miles away, which isn't far. But guys, the Philippines is made up of 7,107 islands. And you had to take a plane, and I didn't have the money. So, and it was a 2-day boat trip. And so it just, I never made it. Not having access to the stuff I was hooked on is really what broke the addiction. Withdrawal sucked, but that was a blessing. So I'm back in Charlottesville. I need some help at the VA. I was afraid to call, but I did. I called expecting an excessively long wait time. A woman answered the phone on the second ring, and she said, welcome to the whatever it is. It's an outpatient clinic on Pantops in Charlottesville, Virginia. If you're in the area and you're a veteran and you need help, you've got to call these people. So she says, how can I help you? I said, well, I'd like to get in and see somebody. I need an appointment. And she said, okay, will this Thursday work, or would next Tuesday be better? And I was like, what? Because it was like on a Monday or something. I said, you can get me in this week? And she's like, of course. And she's laughing. I'm like, this is the VA, right? This isn't UVA Hospital or Martha Jefferson Hospital. I said, yeah, this is the VA. So she got me in a matter of days. I went in, I met with my doctor, and I won't mention his name, and this is the first doctor. He was a wonderful guy. We had a lot of things in common. The running past, distance running past, and our times were practically identical to the second. It was creepy. And he spent 2 hours with me. I've never, ever had that. When I went to the VA 10 years ago, when I would go in, they would barely even talk to me. They'd look at my history like they were reading the computer chart, and they'd say, okay, this, and then they'd pull over a chart of meds and say, okay, we're going to try this, like they were matching up, you know, the two charts. This guy talked to me, let me tell him my story, what was going on, and he said, you know, he made sure there was nothing, no physical pain, which I didn't have, but he made the referral to the psychiatrist, who I saw a week later, I believe it was. It wasn't long. And then things progressed from there. And both times, the psychiatrist and the doctor, when the issue of medications came up, I told them how terrified I was of meds, and I told them my past, and I told them, you know, I'd rather feel bad some of the time than feel nothing all of the time. And I believe they both appreciated the fact that I wasn't a drug seeker. And they didn't say, we're going to use this med and this med and this med. They said, okay, let's see what we can do without medications for now. And we didn't need it. They never made a recommendation for medications. So I went to the VA here in Charlottesville 1, 2, 3, 4 times in the last couple of months. And I'm sitting here as drug-free and clean today as I was before I started going. The doctor that I met the first time, he had been a doctor at UVA for, I think, 10 years or more, and he told me that the outpatient VA center here in Charlottesville is one of the best kept secrets he's ever found, and that any veteran in this area who's not using their services is crazy. And I said, Doc, I'm using your services, and I'm crazy. That's why I'm here. Ha ha, okay, that's the joke. Guys, if you're in the area, or if you're anywhere, and I'm telling this morning before I go into the job I hate that makes me miserable for my last Sunday, and I'm happy about this because, you know, here soon, guys, in a few days when I go into town, it's going to be not by myself to somewhere I don't enjoy going. It's going to be with my family because we're choosing to take our walks on the campus of UVA or go to the 1 or 2 football games we go to a year, or whatever else. And I'm going to have the most important people in my life with me. And so anyway, look at that, I'm getting derailed again. But there's a lot of veterans on this channel, and you guys are commenting, you're saying this and you're saying that. I know you're listening, I know you're here. People, I pointed out, oh, you're so wise, you're wise beyond your years. Thank you. I consider that a compliment, though I don't think it's true. But what I will share with you, and this applies to you even if you're not a veteran, and there's a lot of people watching who are not veterans. If you need help and you know you need help, ask for help. Help is out there. A lot of times, I mean, especially in America and especially with men, we're told that, you know, big boys don't cry, men don't cry. Guys, through the years, I've cried a lot. I've cried a lot. And the crying stopped when two ways. When I asked for help when I needed it, and number 2, when I accepted some unpleasant facts that I simply didn't want to accept, but that I had to accept, or I would have continued to drink and drug myself to death. Suicidal thoughts I did have, like a lot of veterans, would have taken over, and I would not be here right now. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. It doesn't mean you're weak. Okay, veterans, you know what you did at basic training alone. Whether you went to combat or not, the things you did at basic training are proof you are not weak. You are one of the strongest among us. Use that strength you know you have and that I know you have, and go get some help if you need it. And if you're not a vet and you need help, reach out and ask. So I'm going to stop with that. Probably getting ready to kill the batteries in my $3 thrift store camera. I just wanted to kind of say hi to you guys and give you my take on the VA here before I go into town and see some wonderful people in Charlottesville. I love them, and even though we don't agree on things politically, we've got so many other, and some of them we might, and I'm not even saying all of them, and I'm not saying the majority. And I'm not saying just the people in Charlottesville. Guys, there are so many facets to all of our lives. We have so many parts about us. We should never let something, just one of those little parts of our lives or our belief systems, keep us from being able to interact with and get along with and be friends with people that we probably have more things in common with than we don't. And the people of Charlottesville are like that. They might think differently than me in certain areas, but they are all about talking about commonalities and focusing on similarities and giving me ice water when I'm out there and I'm walking 12 miles a day. I'll have 6 or 8 people a day meet me at the door, and these are people with those signs in their yards that I know from the sign they don't think the way I do. In certain areas, they have ice water waiting for me, and they don't ask me, what are your views on this or that or the other. They say, oh, it's hot, the heat index is over 100, I saw you coming up the street here, you sit down on my porch in the shade and you're not leaving until you drink all of that. They're wonderful people, and they've been one of the most enjoyable parts of this job that I hate, that makes me miserable. It's not the people I serve that make me miserable, and it's not my coworkers, it's just some toxic management. So that's enough of my rambles. I'm going to give you a parting shot of the homestead here like I always do. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And hopefully I get home in time to make some videos with my wife and son out here on the homestead. Thanks everybody who subscribed. We appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed this video and you haven't subscribed, we'd ask that you would. And we'll see you next time.